Is Danny coming?
No, just you three.
I guess he didn't give us a reason this week, but no, he never mentioned anything.
So, but
I asked him. He told me he was going to be there.
We didn't get a note. No one else got a note.
Yeah,
that's fucking weird.
That was probably a PM, yo.
But yeah, I'll leave some of this in for a pre-show. But you actually want to redo the intro then?
Yeah.
Okay then.
Unless Jammer wants to walk all over me again.
Let's do this.
Never.
No, we're good. Hello, and welcome to Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, the premier flagship and international podcast of LRM Online and the Genreverse Podcast Network. I'm your host, Sir Jonesiest, and on this week's podcast, we got a trio of clowns. We got the Nick Dolls, and we got the Joseph Jammer Medinas. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Hey, yo, the three lads are back. Trying for some geekdom.
I like your NPR voice. Were you practicing that? Feels like
I am practicing.
This is Terry Gross.
I'm actually auditioning.
Welcome to Fresh Air. For your thoughts.
Welcome to Fresh Air. We've got Kyle Malone on the ones and twos. Hi, Kyle.
What's up? How's it going?
I'm doing all right. On this week's podcast, we're talking about the lattes. Are they too hot? I don't know. Is that what they talk about on Fresh Air?
That's very controversial. I think it's funny. So I remember back when my wife, she was getting her PhD, and I think they were talking about interviewing for some reason, and they mentioned, the host of Terry Gross, right, from Fresh Air.
Yeah, Terry Gross.
Oh, she's a great interviewer. I listen to interviews. No, she's not. She's terrible. I don't like her.
What's wrong with Terry Gross? Let's not bring
boring.
Controversy onto this podcast.
Yeah,
it's
sorry.
NPR.
I don't know.
Next things is Bob Ross is terrible, along with Mr. Rogers.
Since I started paying for streaming services, you know what I don't do? Listen to NPR.
Listen to NPR. What is the streaming services?
Not a thing anymore.
How's
like YouTube Music or Spotify or Apple Music or anything like that.
Do you have
Audible?
All of those?
Listen, my finances aren't on trial here.
And he has a smart Tesla.
Aren't those the
so
same
he can play
service
that in his car?
Replicated? What does one bring that the others don't?
You know what happened? I was on one, and then Joe Rogan was on another, so I had to leave that one to go to another one.
Hey, I did that.
No, I'm just fucking around. I didn't do that.
No, you're making fun of me because I mentioned I did that.
What? That would imply I listened to the show.
No, we've had this conversation.
I guess maybe I did listen to the show. I did listen to the episode. Anyway, speaking of the show, we have a show. We're going to talk about some things. We've got a review to do. We're going to talk about Creed Tree. Creed Trey? The third Creed. Is this the 9th Rocky movie? Can you call it a Rocky movie?
It's my first Rocky movie, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, it's the 9th one.
It's crazy. And then we're also going to talk about some Star Trek news. We're going to do those in reverse order from what I said. So, two of us are certified Star Trek fans. Certified. And one of us is like, what would you call yourself, Jammer? Are you familiar?
I'm a Star Trek.
Are you an adjacent?
He's a JJ
adjacent.
Are you Q?
Yeah, I like the JJ movies, well, mostly, and I like I have some exposure to some Discovery, like the first season of Discovery, which I enjoyed, and then also I like some of the original series episodes just for shits and giggles because they're fun, and that's about it. You know, I can't say I'm enthusiastic, but I appreciate the fandom behind it.
Okay. Well, then you appreciate myself and Nick Dahl.
Yeah. We have reversed the order.
What do you mean?
Well, we gave Kyle. That is fine.
How do we reverse the order? We said we're going to do
We're going to do a review.
Oh, we're going to do the review
Creed
first?
Story.
We're supposed to do the review first?
That's how we've been doing.
Let's do it. All right. You know what? I've been gone for a while. Let's do it the new way. We'll do it the new way. We're going to do some Creed first. We'll do it live. So we've got Creed 3. This is Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut. And it's a doozy, right? It is the third film in the Creed franchise. And we'll see how it goes. I've got some Twitter thoughts. You all have some Twitter thoughts. So let's get to them. Creed 3 is a film that on Rotten Tomatoes, as of last viewing, is a 87. Did it come down?
86%.
86%. So
with a 96% audience score.
Here's what's funny about that. When I first looked at this, I saw this on a Wednesday night. It was like at a 91%. And I was like, holy shit, this movie must be great. It is not, in fact, a 91. by any stretch of the imagination. It is not a 96. But we'll see how that goes. So it is nice to see the score is normalizing. I think when I did look at the tomato meter, it was at 100 scores. So now we're at 168 reviews from certified reviewers. So that's interesting, but we'll get into it and see what you guys think. I'm sorry. Okay. Twitter thoughts. So I'm going to give my Twitter review of Creed 3. Not as good as the first two. It is buoyed by strong performances by Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors. And while it is apparent that as a director, he understands the franchise in some respects, it is apparent that Michael B. Jordan can't bring the emotional heft that was present in some of the best outings of this franchise to tie this one together. So while I did like this film and wanted to love it, I did not. And if this is the end of the Creed franchise, I'm okay with that. But apparently it's not. So,
hell no.
Hell no.
It's okay.
That was a long Twitter review, but
it was like that was one of those pictures that people take of their iPhone notes and then just put on Twitter.
You know what that was? That was like a mastodon. What do they call mastodons? It's not a tweet. What do they do?
I don't know, man. I tried Mastodon. I got so confused and gave up.
What? I've never heard of that.
I got confused.
You've never heard of Mastodon? All right. Well, maybe one day. Anyway, Jammer, give me your Mastodon.
My Mastodon is, do you like the Rocky series? If you like Rocky movies, you'll probably like this. Whether or not you'll love it or like it a little bit less than the others, mileage may vary. Overall, I enjoyed it quite a bit, but there's more nuance to come in my more extended thoughts. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I liked it a lot. But I can see where you're coming from and kind of agree, but we'll dig more into that later.
You had a tweet and it just kept on going. And you turned
it
into a mastodon. I was going to say, you
asked for a mastodon.
No, I was saying you had a tweet and you just kept on going. You turned it into a trunk, baby. You turned it into a mastodon trunk or whatever they call them. I don't know.
No, they're trunks. I mean, they're basically elephants.
They call them trunks? No, but what do they call them? I'm going to have to look that up.
The mastodons don't talk.
The company,
last time I checked.
No, the company that has the thing,
Do mastodons, the animals call them?
Yeah. No, the website.
The website.
No, that's what Jammer said. He's like, what do mastodons call them? I don't know.
Hold on.
What does
according to the first result in Google, which came from Hootsuite, mastodons are called toots.
Yeah, actually, I was about to say toots because they're like.
So do we believe the owls about what mastodons do?
Gizmodo toot is retired. Its retired.
Seems
like version of the tweet. So no longer are they calling it toot. That's as of November 15th, 2022 on
Gizmodo. You become a little popular and you fucking sell out.
What are they now?
It doesn't say.
I like trunks.
No, trunks is stupid.
No,
developing no, it doesn't seem that they've got necessarily something.
You got to have a thing.
Yeah. Anyway,
we don't need to know it right now, though. So
they should call them chirps.
Move on.
Nick Dahl. Let me hear your trunk. Chirp.
I had a good one, but it was lost in my brain as we talked. As someone who's never seen a single Rocky or Creed movie,
where have you been?
Yeah, I know.
Not watching sports movies because these are still sports movies, despite what you guys say.
No one ever said it wasn't a sports movie. Creed
every time 3, I bring up something like Miracle or Creed or something, you guys are like, "Oh, those aren't really sports movies."
I've never said that.
No one's ever said that. That's
do you podcast in your dreams with like imaginary versions of us? Because that's
basically what that is. That's basically slander.
It's libel. Well, it's not written.
It's not written. It's not libel.
That's my favorite Spider-Man line.
You learn nothing from. Yeah, I was gonna say.
He's like, you learn nothing from Spider-Man.
That's my first.
There was one
Rocky
lesson.
Movie, just one. Dad used to love that line. He's a reporter. Was a reporter. I really enjoyed it. I felt a lot was lost emotionally, including one storyline that wasn't paid off whatsoever that was brought up early in the film. But Michael B. Jordan Not
don't
Michael B.
remember.
Jordan. Jonathan Majors gives it an entire extra letter bump.
Man, you're
Not
lucky it's
letter
not
bump.
Black History Month anymore.
I don't care. Jonathan Majors is my Pedro now. He's like, I was watching him. I'm like, this guy is the shit. I'm gonna watch
I'm not gonna lie,
Devotion now
every single
on Paramount
every
Plus.
every single time he was on screen in this movie, I was thinking like fucking Martin Scorsese style cinema. That's literally what I was
Yes.
thinking whenever he
Yeah.
was on screen. Like no
So
joke.
here's the thing. This is the second time within a month he has elevated a film beyond what it deserves.
Yeah. And he's gonna take the number one spot from himself.
Admittedly, there was a story beat though that the whole time it was going, I was like, I hope they don't do this. I hope they don't do this. And they did it. And it actually brought the film down substantially for me because I think there could have been a lot more.
So
nuance
let's
to the
find out what that
character
is.
otherwise.
So before we go into spoilers, let's do letter grades. Jammer, what's yours?
I'll give it a B plus. I really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot there. I think it's very competent, solid filmmaking. As I mentioned, I thought cinema whenever he was on screen, whenever Jonathan Majors was on screen, it wasn't just his performance. I think there's a lot about the script that was pretty solid as well. The character work.
So when I said give me your letter grade,
and
and
I'm
you're
sorry.
like, I'm gonna give another review of the film.
Sorry, B plus.
So wait, no. Let's review the
B plus.
tape. I was like, hey,
Yeah, you're right.
before we go
You're
into
right.
spoilers, give me your
You're
letter
right.
grade.
You're right.
Jammer's
plus.
like, you know what? Let's okay.
B plus.
Nicholas
it.
Dalius.
B- with Jonathan Majors. Any other actor, it would have been a C+.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Okay. I'm gonna go solid B. Solid B. So we got a cluster of reviews in a same generalish region. Find out why when we go into spoilers. So Jammer,
Happening now on
talk
NPR.
talk about your on Not Fresh Air. This isn't fresh air. We have to think of
Definitely
something.
is not fresh air.
This is not fresh air.
Well, that's
me
why I
hear
named
your
our
spoiler.
show Breaking Creative the Podcast. It's because they're on there and you can like listen to this radio show as a podcast.
Did you say
And I was
Breaking
like,
Creed?
aha, Breaking Geek Radio, but
Oh,
no, Breaking Creed. Oh, that would be a good name for the episode. We already have one.
Jammer, your spoiler thoughts, please.
my spoiler thoughts. So, throughout this, honestly, the first half of the movie for me was nearly perfect. I loved the first half of the movie. And the
When does
reason
the
why,
first half end for you?
well, I'll tell you in a
Just
second.
so I can contextualize.
It ends after, it ends after Damien beats what's his name in the ring.
The Mexican
Felix.
guy.
Felix. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Felix. Felix has a name. You're lucky. Man.
I was trying to remember what it was. After around the time he beats Felix in the ring is when I think.
No,
around
I was
halfway-
making fun of Nick Dahl.
Yeah,
He
I
sounds
said the
very much
Mexican
like J.K.
guy.
Rowling. Yeah, the black person in the room, J.K. Rowling. That's how she describes characters.
He's from Mexico.
Sorry,
He wears
go
the
ahead.
Mexican flag on his shorts
and in his
But he
mouth.
also has a name.
and in his mouth. I noticed that.
So that's around the halfway point. And the reason why I didn't like it is I thought Jonathan Majors, Damien, brought in a whole lot of nuance. Like there's so much there to unpack. It's like he's this guy whose life was torn from him because he was defending a friend from, an abuser, for lack of a better term. And it was seeing basically, as he mentioned, his life played out in front of him, what could have been, and never having gotten that chance. And I really like how he was sort of played in that first half, where it's like, the clock is ticking. I have to have my chance. I really just have to have it. And I liked him as this guy who was just like, he would do whatever he had to do to get it. But he was almost, in a way, I'm trying to think of how to portray this. Like when he was doing those
Illegal
I guess more
punches.
illegal punches
Illegal
or
blows.
the elbows and stuff. Like I preferred the idea that it was, he was doing it, but at the same time, it was him like just really desperately trying to reach out and grab what was stolen from him at all costs. And I really like that moment at the end when he was winning and he's like, hey, and he's like sharing the belts to Creed, showing like, hey, look at this. I did it. I liked that idea. And the whole time I was thinking, God damn it. I hope he wasn't responsible for Ivan Drago getting injured. Because then all of a sudden he becomes this guy who's like, it all went according to plan the entire time, and starts becoming mustache twirling. And I get the Rocky franchise's need to villainize the villains, to make the villains villainous. But to me, that just stole a lot of nuance from that character and made him a lot less interesting. I kind of started to try to come around to it later in the second half when I was thinking, well, his life was stolen from him. He would do anything at all costs, but it just felt still too, I didn't like it. I would have preferred if they were braver with him as a character and just made him as literally that broken guy who really just wants what he's been wanting his entire life and maybe just stumbles too far over the line in order to get it. So that's what was really lost for me in that moment in the movie. But overall, I think still really solid action, great direction, but just that thing kind of, I feel like, unraveled a lot of aspects of the movie for me.
Impressively good direction, right? At least for me, because again, for this to be the first movie that if you told me this was the first time directorial debut of somebody, I would not believe it, right?
Yeah.
Like this was.
By the way, I have to also point out, because my boy Michael B. Jordan, that anime loving dude, got caught. Well, he name dropped great shows. He name dropped, of course, Dragon Ball Z, which that was present in the one shot where they punch each other simultaneously. That was pulled directly from the Frieza saga. It was great. Mm-hmm. Then there was he lifted that. Nick, you're rolling your eyes.
I know.
That. Don't roll your eyes at me. You Star Trek.
I'm rolling my eyes about anime in general. It's like, oh wow, two people punched each other at the same time. That's so anime.
So it is stylistically.
I know.
And then also
you mentioned that, and I could notice.
There was a couple other aspects. So he also name dropped Hajime no Ippo, which is one of my favorites. I love Hajime no Ippo. It's one of those shows that it has its problems because literally 90% of it is internal monologue, but it's still really engaging to watch. It's about this kid who gets bullied, and then he basically learns boxing, and then it has like 1,000+ chapters of him just slowly rising through the ranks.
Jesus
as
Christ.
Like it's literally just like broken up. It's like it's building up to this fight, and then the fight happens, building up to the next fight.
You and your long ass manga sagas, Jesus.
I haven't read the manga because it hasn't been translated into English, and I don't like reading scans.
All right,
but the anime came out when one of it came out, like the first 80 episodes or something came out in like the early 2000s. Then they had a sequel series in like the early 2010s, which is great. But anyways, there are a couple shots that were pulled from it, and that's when he punched I think it was Damien in the stomach, or it was maybe the other way around, and then you see the back
I figured that
was Creed getting punched.
That was literally pulled from.
That's when he went down right before the count.
That's when they almost got him down.
Hajime no Ippo does that shot all the time where you do that, and then you usually see like a sonic boom like from the back and the sweat coming off. And then some of the extreme physicality that Damien had where he was going like it was really extreme. It's not what you would actually see in boxing. It was like played up for visuals. That's some shit straight out of Hajime no Ippo. Like there's this one guy, he would have his arm like this and would go like and it became this whole weird thing.
You'd
like
jerk
those
off.
Physical aspects I feel like he brought into the movie that aren't realistic, but they're really fun to watch.
Okay. So I'm going to jump in. I agree with you in some respects. I really liked the style that he took with the boxing. It's like we said, this is the 9th movie in this franchise over, how many decades. And what I loved was I feel like the Creed franchise has done a good job of, even among the 3, distinguishing those fight styles. So like with Ryan Coogler, you did this great, like one continuous shot in a fight. And so that was great and dynamic. With Stephen Cable Jr., you got to see just like bone crushing, hard hitting punches in Creed 2. And in this one, they brought like this very dynamic anime style, not just from the hits, but like the way they would look at each other and the way they would zero in on like, okay, here's your weakness.
When he like, exactly.
Here's
when
the part where you're
slow
injured.
Motion.
Here's like, and I loved it. I loved that stuff. what frustrated me about this movie was, I don't know if this is the same emotional beat that Nick was talking about. So it didn't bother me so much that Damien turned out to be the mustache twirling thing, because I felt like it fit with what we'd been presented. This is a guy who was at this point in his life willing to do whatever it took to win, right? Yeah. He's throwing illegal punches. He's elbowing people in the face. He's kneeing people. What bothered me about that was they didn't follow through with it. So my expectation for this fight at the end was he was going to get to the end, and now we get to see him fight Creed. It wasn't about who won that fight. It was about what would it cost you to win? Because now it's not just about a title fight. This guy's trying to hurt you, like cripple you. He could do permanent damage to you. And I didn't like that. Not only did that not follow through, there was no explanation as to why. I could see why he could fuck up Felix. He's like, I don't know this fucking guy. I don't like him. I don't know him. And he's, you know, I could just beat the shit out of him all day. I would understand if they gave Damien a reason to pull his punches, because this is his brother that he's known for that long. So I didn't like that. I also didn't like the fact that
you don't like that he didn't throw any illegal punches at the end.
Yeah, no illegal punches, no nothing. Because I wanted to see.
Didn't even notice that.
Creed have to like dig in and go after his friend who's trying to hurt him. And I thought that emotionally that would have been a better payoff, either understanding why Damien wouldn't, or seeing what it took for Creed to get out of that. I also didn't like the fact that his daughter had this issue with fighting, right? Mm-hmm. She wanted to fight, and Bianca's like, you need to talk to her. Like, it can't just be about her anger. And I would have wished that I wish that there's a moment in the movie where Damien punches Creed, and I would have loved if she had been there, because that would have explained why Creed didn't fight him back. Because 2 seconds before that, he punched the shit out of another guy just to get up to Damien. So why is he not punching him now? And it would have made more thematic sense if he didn't punch Damien in front of his daughter.
Yeah. No, you're right. Continue.
And now we would have seen, like, okay, he's learning and has to teach his daughter when to fight and when not to fight. And
no, you're right.
Certainly when somebody has a gun, you don't fight.
So hold on really quick. I'm going to say this right now. I am bringing it down to a B, because you're 100% about all those things. It would have been a thematically stronger movie if those were incorporated into easily. They could have easily been incorporated into the story, and they weren't. Yep. So B plus to B. Still a great movie, but B.
I still really like it, even though I felt like those things were missing, and it was frustrating to me. And what makes it that much more frustrating is the ending, right? At the end, she's still in the boxing ring, knocks him out, and she will seemingly have learned nothing, right, about what she's supposed to be doing. But now she also knows how to fight better. And so I wish they had tied those two things together better.
Damn, Jonesy, the screenwriter. I'm loving it. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's good shit. That's good stuff, Jonesy.
I did not like the music. So Rocky movies to me are the fights, the montages, the music, and I could probably think of something else. To me, sitting in a theater and having the N-word dropped every 5 seconds and the song that's in the background, that doesn't inspire me. And let me tell you, sitting in a theater full of white people, that's awkward. Sitting around a bunch of Koreans, even more awkward, right?
But they don't understand the context of that, do they?
Everybody knows what the N-word is.
Do they?
Yeah,
I have no idea. Around the world, I have no idea if they do.
Yeah, they do.
Do they do?
So,
I mean, you got to think about how long Americans have been in the area at least that, and then addition the proliferation of hip hop culture throughout the world, and they're well aware.
N-word proliferation because of music, and it's just like so it is. I don't like it, and contrast that with the first Creed, where there's a scene where he's running with the kids during the training montage, and there is the Rocky fanfare that plays, and then it goes into a newer version of the fanfare, and like you feel the old and the new coming together, and that feels inspiring to me. So that was something I didn't care for, and there was probably something else, but this is not a movie. When I watched the first and second Creed, not only did I want to see them again, I wanted to see where the story was going to go. If this is the end of this franchise, I'm fine. But yeah, I felt like there needed to be better emotional stakes.
I like this one more than Creed 2.
Yeah.
Creed 2 was good, but I felt like the story was so... do I like that? I guess I just didn't like how much it was about his ego.
Rocky. Oh.
No, about Creed's ego. About him not being able to take a loss. And obviously that's boxers. Like when you're an athlete like that, those are a big deal. But to me, I'm just like, oh, cry, you good looking bitch. And it was basically what it was.
Well, what's funny about that is
still, yeah.
I think that this would have been a better movie if he had lost the fight at the end.
I agree. I thought about that at the very end when it looked like he wasn't about to get up. I was thinking, is he going to come to some sort of revelation? It's like, maybe I don't need to take this from him. Maybe
because that's what his mother said, right? You find another way. And so I was trying to figure out how they were going to bring that together. I really loved their scenes together, Felicia Rashad and him, but I didn't like that she was trying to say like, find another way. And it never happened. It almost felt like we were watching different drafts of a script that got stitched together.
Interesting.
And it was just something that they got missed. But I'm talking a lot. Nick Dahl.
Hold on, before you do that, hold on. I'm sorry, Nick. But hold on. He's like, I'm up. I'm like, 1 second. I do like the conversation at the end with Jonathan Majors and him. I'm happy it didn't end just with the boxing match. I'm glad they had that moment to reconnect. I really enjoyed that. And I forgot what else I was going to say. So, Nick Dahl, you're up. We want your opinion.
Wait,
go.
You know what I loved before that? I loved the moment where they're looking at each other through the wall. I loved that he always knew, they always knew where each other were, like looking in the mirror, looking at each other. And through the wall, for whatever reason, was more powerful to me. Like the stop, the look. Like I thought that was a fantastic moment. And I think good. Stuff like that is what stops me from disliking this movie outright, because it was so much like creative stuff that they had done that's not just absent from the Rocky franchise and hadn't been present before, but just generally striking and new. So I like that.
Yeah, it just needed a stronger, more cohesive script.
Yeah. Yep. Agree.
All right, Nick, you're up.
Okay. So I knew that we had Killmonger and Kang in this thing, but no one told me Valkyrie was in this franchise. And there was a song that referenced Wakanda, which really threw me out of it.
Was there a song?
Oh, the rap song where the lyrics is Wakanda.
Yeah. I did not know.
I was like, what?
That.
But I really enjoyed it. The length really helped it. I was looking online before I went. I'm like, oh Jesus, the other Creed movies are over 2 hours. This one was under 2 hours, which was beautiful. It never felt like it was overstaying its welcome. The storylines I was talking about, that and the lack of emotionality.
That's emotion.
His mother dying was like, okay, let's deal with that in a minute and toss it out. Like she's dead. Funeral. We're done with that.
I disagree, but move on.
I felt nothing for that.
I feel
fair. You haven't seen her since she's in the beginning of the franchise. She's
true, but like at the same time,
so Adonis Creed was basically, he grew up in
a group home.
In a group home, and she came in, and she basically took him in, and she was also very torn because of the fact that she realized this is the kid that my husband created when he was cheating on me. And so there was that sort of conflict there. So they have that really interesting relationship between each other, like their mother and son, but also like it's almost deeper in a way.
But not right. Like, yeah, there's some context that you're missing from two other movies. Okay. And I feel like if you had seen them, you might feel differently about it.
I was wondering about that, but also it was just such a short part of the movie. It didn't seem to add anything to it. And then the other thing, yeah, it's exactly what Jonesy said about. I felt like they never paid off or never mentioned it again about the daughter fighting. Like it was a big deal. There was a conversation about it, and then the closest they came was him teaching her how to fight and being like, "But you don't fight for anger or vengeance." But there was never a real lesson with the mom around. Like it was just like, okay, we'll drop that storyline completely.
Yeah.
I felt like he needed a better reason even to get in the ring with Dame. I don't think that they explained why he had to fight him. He's retired. He's been retired for 3 years. He's to fight him. Why? Because he beat Felix. So I would have loved if Felix's mom was like, what the fuck? So my son comes to you. He's the #1 boxer in the world. He's a champion. Your friend, you let him do this. I would have been more satisfied if that was coming from her, because there was nothing internal about what was going on with Creed that made me believe that that was necessary.
I disagree. I think
why?
I think it was.
Why does he have to fight him?
You gotta take, because he took it. I'm trying to think here. It's kind of like not less extreme version of Rocky IV when he killed Apollo Creed and he felt the need to sort of defend him. He sort of needed to defend his quote unquote fighter, but also there's that internal conflict. I think between those two, there was enough there that yes, they have this history, and he's basically coming at it from the wrong. He's not being a good champ, and he needs to get the belt stolen from him as a result. And then mix in with that his relation to Felix, and then also their overall history together. I think that's enough. Maybe it wasn't like directly stated enough to the point where it works, or that wasn't enough for you. But for me, I think that was like enough multiple points to where I felt like, yeah, you gotta steal that belt back. You gotta steal it from him. That's like, he's a dishonorable champ. You can't let that fly.
Also, my favorite part of the movie was when it's just the two of them fighting. And
yeah,
the crowd's completely gone.
I loved it.
I loved it,
especially.
I spent the whole time waiting for the crowd to come back.
I mean, I did too, because I was actually curious. I was waiting for the moment when it did come back. But
I like getting rid of the announcers. I find the announcers cheesy as hell in a movie. Well, all the time. That's why I feel like Dodgeball has two goofy announcers in it. It's because they're making fun of sports movies, where it's like, no, I'm watching a movie, not a real sporting event. I don't need two people to be talking about it. Or like the Showtime intro, where it's like, Showtime, here's the fight tonight.
No, I love that.
This guy.
So here's what I'll say. One, that's consistent throughout this iteration of the franchise, and I really like that. What I don't like is, for whatever reason, you're right. In this particular movie, I was like, these fucking announcers are terrible. And I don't know what it was about what they were saying that made me dislike them. Yeah, I did not like them. But I did spend the whole time.
Go ahead.
I was just going to add, I spent the whole time waiting for the crowd to come back. And what I felt a little cheated, because I think we went from like round 2 to round 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, what the fuck? That definitely wasn't 10 rounds of... I
mean, it was.
No. Like them in
it was the highlight reel.
Where they were.
I would have watched 12 rounds. It would have made the movie 2.5 hours.
Well, they wouldn't... Like, they don't normally do that, but...
Yeah, they do.
Why I don't like it. No.
They normally just skip it through montage form of the things going up.
Right. You get to see like what each consecutive round is. You see the toll. And so again, that's my whole problem with the movie. You're not seeing what this is actually doing. Creed at the beginning of that fight and Dame at the beginning of that fight are almost the same as they are at the end of that fight. And so losing those 10 rounds, you don't get to see like the impact that this is having on their bodies. And I feel like up until this point, all of the movies have done a very good job of like, oh, no. This is fucking hard.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, I just want to say, back when I was watching a UFC match a long time ago, I always remember this really stupid comment that Joe Rogan made where someone said like, oh, that punch almost connected. And he was like, and it's the punches that connect that do the most damage. What the hell? Why was that needed?
And thus began his career of saying dumb shit.
Speaking of what Nick Dahl said, it reminded me of Jason Bateman going like, what was the comment? He's like, oh yeah, it's a bold strategy. Let's see how it does. No, that wasn't that comment. It was another comment. Oh yeah, he will not be able to see when he was blindfolding himself. That moment.
I thought of you, Jammer, as I was watching this when Dame was commenting about how attractive Bianca was. He's like, "You're punching," and I was like, "Ah,
yeah."
Jammer's line.
I thought that too.
I could probably talk about this movie for a while. I don't know that I think it's necessary. I think I agree with Jammer. Like, if you're a fan of this franchise, I do think that you will enjoy watching this. But there are some other things I'd like to talk about in relation to this. So have you all gotten your spoiler thoughts out?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I'll just say also, if you're a Jonathan Majors fan and you're desperate for more Jonathan Majors because he's not in much, that's, you know, those memes where it's like, I see the movie for the plot.
Country.
I didn't finish that because Jonesy said not to finish it.
I didn't care for the ending.
I didn't care for it after episode 3.
Yeah.
Well, the meme where it's like, I watched the movie for the plot and then like shows a picture of a sexy guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically my review. Like, I watched the movie for the plot and it's a picture of a meme of Jonathan Majors is working out. Yeah.
It's funny. That reminds me of last week, literally, when I told you, you're the only person I know who watches things for actors exclusively. And you're like, no, I don't, except for this. Well, here's another example.
There's an exception to every rule. There's no such thing as absolute.
It's not an exception. It's the rule. You just think it's an exception.
So I did this for the podcast. Otherwise, I still wouldn't have seen it. This is my first Creed movie. I'm not about to jump into Creed 3.
You should watch the other ones. I think they're really good.
They are. They're great.
Those, at least in my opinion, those are definitely A movies. Let's jump into some adjacent news to this. So there's a Deadline article where Michael B. Jordan is having a conversation with an interviewer. He talks about the fact that he is interested in building a Creed universe.
Not a multiverse.
Not a multiverse.
No.
Well,
okay.
So here's a question: were we watching a variant? Was that Kang the Incarcerated?
Oh,
that's what I was saying. The lack of a post-credit scene with like 12 Damians was very disappointing. I want at least 12 Damians in the.
You know what they should have done? Scene. They should have just had the.
Wait, did they do a post-credit scene?
No, there was. I assume not. I left.
They should have done the post-credit scene from Ant-Man and just plopped it at the end of Creed.
Terrible. So on the red carpet, Jordan is talking, and he says they're building the Creed universe. Building the Creed universe is something I'm really excited about. What do you all think about that? Do you all want to see more? And yes. What would you like to see? So we know that there's a Drago movie that's supposedly coming out.
Or series. I think it's a Drago series, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I just know spinoff. So let's call it a spinoff for now.
Okay. There's a spinoff.
What do you want?
Drago. Okay. What do I want? So when I was thinking about it, and I think this movie kind of had, the Creed 3 kind of had a bit of that universe feel to it, in that you got to see the opening with the villain from the first movie, and then in the later half you got to see Drago come back, and throughout the movie you get to see Drago come back, and it really got to feel like this world was really crisscrossing and interconnected. It wasn't like a world where, okay, well, that villain's gone, moving on to the next one. That villain's gone, moving on to the next one. Everyone,
I think it's Wheeler, Danny Wheeler.
You mean what?
Danny Wheeler. I think that was the fighter from the first movie.
He's like, "You're a false Creed." That guy. I don't remember who that was specifically.
Yeah, the guy who was fighting in the very beginning.
I don't remember his name. Yeah, I'm
saying,
assuming you're right. Oh, okay, cool. I don't know. My point is, I don't know his name. But taking it back to Hajime no Ippo, what I like about Hajime no Ippo is occasionally you would have arcs from the perspective of the other person, and sometimes it'd be them, like, or you'd be a mix of seeing from both perspectives and seeing them kind of go towards a collision course as they're training. And by the time you get to the fight, it's like, I don't know who I want to win because I'm equally invested in both of them. And I think seeing things kind of crisscrossing from that perspective in like a just sort of a universe of different fighters and training for each other would be cool.
Okay.
Over the course,
you reminded me of something else I didn't like about this movie. I didn't care for the montage.
Okay. I mean, you
really
kind of
quick.
You kind of hinted at that because I feel like
liked.
the music didn't culminate in a satisfying way like in the
Well,
others.
I was specifically thinking about the opening when I was thinking about music, but the montage, I didn't buy like his dig out moment. In all of the montages, there's a moment where they're like training, and they're kind of like, oh man, I'm tired of that. But then they've got to like fucking dig in and dig out like that extra little bit. And I just didn't feel anything.
I felt that personally when Drago knocked him down and he got up. I will say there was a funny moment where they were naming like how much he was damaged and stuff. Like up until that point, Michael Jordan looked totally normal. And then the second they're like, "You're old," all of a sudden, let's get him more disheveled, give him a thicker, bushier mustache, make his hair look as cute. All of a sudden, he looks 10 years old just for the montage.
Know what that was? That was his Dark Knight Rises moment. That was like, oh, you got some broken metacarpals, you got this, you got that, blah blah blah. What do you? That was
his Rocky
Mr.
Balboa
Wayne?
moment.
That too.
You haven't peaked yet.
Get to throw some hurting bombs. But I did like that part. I liked his relationship with his trainer. I really enjoyed that. Nick Dahl. So we've got a universe to build. What do you want? You cannot say nothing.
I don't care. I don't know.
Same thing.
Here's what I'll say. I'm glad that people are still creating universes because Dark Universe was so goddamn successful. We should just keep turning everything into a universe.
Here's what I appreciate about it in this instance. With Dark Universe, they made one fucking movie and told you they were going to make a universe. Here we are, at least at the end of the third one, before he has said, like, hey, I'm going to build this into something bigger. Or like, we knew we were getting a third one of these before they even talked about making a Drago show. So they knew it at the very least that they had a successful series that had some traction that people were interested in seeing, as opposed to like, before I even see the first fucking movie, you're telling me like, yeah, they're going to be 10 more after this. Well, make me one good thing. Then I'll decide whether or not I would like to see the rest of your
MGM.
9 fucking movie series.
Right? Yeah, this is MGM. Yeah. Give me the Amazon original series about Jonathan Majors training. Just for
I mean,
episodes.
he could be included in it. That's the thing is great about this is that literally you could have a series. You can have you can have a 20 episode series where you're kind of crisscrossing perspectives between all the villains and Creed, and sort of their crisscrossing matches. I would be all over that, and because they didn't leave it at the point where Jonathan Majors' character was like, well, he's out. It was like, no, he's potentially still involved in this going forward for a little bit longer, and that's actually
you're not out. You're out when I say you're out.
I feel bad about Creed. I'm like, I feel like we missed so much in between movies in terms of all the boxing because like. In the first one, he's new. The second one, he's like really, really experienced. And this one, he's gone. It's just like, gee, we missed the whole career. It's
like
gone.
James Bond.
Yeah.
James Bond. We got Casino Royale to Skyfall, whatever. Man, when Jonathan Majors flexes at one point, I'm like, God damn, I need to go to the gym. So Nick, you don't want anything from this franchise? What would I want to see?
It's a sports franchise. I don't care.
It's so I disagree, and I think part of that is you're missing a lot of.
We're not saying it's not a sports franchise, Nick. We're saying that there's more to it than just being about sports. That's what we're saying.
So here's what I think, and I love listening to Stallone talk about this franchise. It's a very personal franchise, and while yes, this applies to sports, a lot of it is just about life and how much life can beat you up. And the question is, how much can you take and keep pushing forward?
How much you can get it and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
1/4 mile at a time.
Fantastic. It's fantastic. And so I really love that thread. It's consistent throughout all of the movies, probably except this one. This is the first one where I was like, man, this is just like an inevitable win. So
anyway, I didn't think it was inevitable. I actually was wondering if he was going to lose, if they were going to go that route. But
nah, I didn't. I didn't question it, especially when I realized that Dame was not going all in. When I noticed that he wasn't like trying to injure him, I was like, no, Creed's going to win this. It would have made me question.
Opposite. if he had actually been more all in on the hurting, I feel like, okay, he needs to lose. Whereas since he wasn't, I'm like, maybe.
Well, I think that's okay. I could see that. I guess I just see it differently. Like, to me, it made it more inevitable that Creed was going to win because Dame wasn't trying to hurt him.
Interesting. So what do you want from a universe of Creed?
I agree that I would like to see Jonathan Majors come back. I think he is a character that is due for some redemption. And I think now that he is gone to the bottom again, I think it would be fun to see some more of him. And because they've talked about his age multiple times, it could be a limited series. Just the idea, like, he's an older guy and let's see what happens when he's on his way out. That would be one. If I wanted to see Drago, like, I would have wanted to see more from him in this movie. Like, I like that they brought him back, but I didn't get enough from him to feel like I wanted to see more of him.
I'll see more of him. I liked what we had of him, even though it wasn't that much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's fine, but I didn't go like, oh yeah, that guy. Yeah. Anyway, guys, ready to move on?
Yes.
Move on.
All right, let's do some quick hits. Star Trek. We've got 2 pieces of Star Trek news. Which would you like to cover first?
Star Trek 4 is the order I put it in for Kyle's sake.
All right, we got some Star Trek 4. Chris Pine
Welcome,
was doing some interviews, and during that interview, he talked about the franchise. He said, "I don't know anything." He said, "I know there are some costume designers that have read scripts before the actors." He talked about the fact that after the death of Anton Yelchin and just like the stumbling of Star Trek 4, it seems like the franchise is cursed.
It's always felt that
certainly
way.
From you have?
No, I mean, I've always felt that that's been cursed. I mean, thinking about like how long it always takes for things to get going in the Star Trek movie realm, with the exception of Beyond. No, not Beyond. Into Darkness. I just feel like it's like pulling teeth to get a movie made.
Well, part of that is, and Chris Pine addressed this, it is the economics of a Star Trek movie, right? They do have a rabid fan base, but it is not a let's spend $150 million on a movie rabid. It should be. That's their fucking fault. But yeah. So I'll give my thoughts on this first. I hear what he's saying. I don't know that I think that the franchise itself is cursed. Manny talked about this in our Discord, and I agree to some extent. This is a franchise that thrives on the small screen. Even Star Wars, which I think we would say is one of those, like, let's spend $100 or $150 million on a movie and it will thrive. In my impression, is doing better on television. I think that long format benefits the storytelling. So, I am less excited for anything that J.J. Abrams has to offer this franchise, because there is a quote somewhere from him where he talks about, like, he's got a good script and blah, 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 but I'm not all that excited to see it. But let's hear what you guys think.
Well, I actually came to the same revelation during COVID as what Manny brought up about it be working better as a series, because that's COVID. I had a lot of time. My parents got CBS All Access back, which is what it was called back then. And I started watching the new Treks. I'm like, oh my God, this is better than Star Wars. And the reason it's better than Star Wars is you actually have time to spend with the characters. And like you get to meet everyone on Discovery doesn't do the best job of this, but you meet everyone on the bridge, maybe some other, the Doctor you get to know really well. So I was saying Discovery doesn't do a good no.
Oh, okay. You said
Discovery doesn't do that as good as some of the other series do. Like, I've been watching Next Gen ever since I watched Picard episode 2. So yeah, I agree with that too. At the same time, I just love the cast of the Star Trek movies, so I just want to see those guys together again. Carl Urban, Zachary Quinto, and Chris Pine especially. It's just that's a
Zoe
fun
Saldana
group. Yeah, I've always thought she's been too involved just based on the formula of the original series. It's supposed to be about Kirk, Spock,
I agree.
and Bones, and they kind of
It
pushed.
should have less women. I agree.
It's not what I meant, but that's exactly
Especially
why she
women of
has a
color.
bigger role. That's exactly why she has a bigger role. Is it's a forced thing. Whereas,
I see. So,
Whoa.
she's a token. It's affirmative action.
Wow.
that's what it feels
Wow.
like, considering the formula of the original series is the three of them and their triumvirate, whatever the word is. It's about the trio. Kirk is torn on Spock's on one shoulder, Bones is on the other shoulder, and Kirk's kind of in the middle. And they lost that completely in the first two JJ
Tread
Star Trek
carefully,
movies.
Nick. Basically, what it sounds like is like anything change that isn't exactly what it was decades ago is forced diversity. That's
if you're
that's
gonna
the road you're
lose
trekking
that
down.
dynamic, then just make up a new crew. It's not
Why?
Kirk, Spock, and Bones
Why?
with that dynamic.
Why?
Because Bones is like so shelved in the first two movies. It's like you lose the whole
I thought
point
Bones
of Kirk.
is pretty involved in that first movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Not that much.
Okay.
Bam,
Look,
bam.
this
You
is
get me,
the
bam,
amount-
bam.
the shirt. That's what's supposed to be important.
I don't know what the
But-
shirt was supposed to prove, Nick. I don't know what you were
Kirk,
proving with the
Spock,
shirt.
Bones,
I get
biggest on the shirt.
Okay.
It's always been about that trio. But that's what I said. I love the cast. And yeah, Zoe Saldana, Simon Pegg, John Cho.
I know
Is that
the
his
cast.
name?
I know the cast. I think it's
But yeah, that's the main
Hey,
reason I
guys,
would want.
Sorry to break in real quick, but Danny did just try to join, but then he dropped off. I'm not sure if
Okay.
he was
He
not-
probably tried to join at normal time.
probably not knowing the time or something.
He didn't pay attention, just like Jammer, on all the
I paid
messages.
attention yesterday. You guys had a whole conversation.
Yeah. TLDR.
So yeah, I hear what you're saying, Nick. Again, you're lucky it's not Black History Month anymore.
It's Women's Month now, or whatever. So
It's almost worse.
yeah,
almost worse.
it is.
So anyway, I don't want to see anything from J.J. Abrams as it relates to this franchise. I would like to see them wrap up this franchise with these characters, this iteration of these folks. But if that never happens, I'm fine with what we've got on television. Specifically, what we're going to see in the wrap up of Discovery and what we've got with Lower Decks and the new
Strange
kid on
New
the block,
Worlds.
Strange New Worlds. So all that to say, if you guys don't have anything else, we can move on to the final story.
Let's keep
All
tracking.
right. Let's keep trekking. Star Trek Discovery is no longer going to trek. So the
Or
fifth
discover.
season, or discover, hadn't figured out how to discover how to use its current setting well. So launched in 2017. I mean, that is my biggest frustration with Discovery. I felt like they moved away from where they were in the timeline to the future to avoid timeline issues, and then they never made full use of their setting. So that's been my frustration. Anyway, so this series is going to come to a close at the fifth season, and they've actually pushed the premiere of the franchise. I don't know when it was originally supposed to come out, but they moved
This
it
year
to
at some point, for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We have a teaser from it.
Yeah,
Just like we
I
had-
remember that.
Yeah.
Should go back and look at that. I should have done that, but whatever. So yeah, this is going to be the end, and we've talked about diversity as it relates to the films. Star Trek Discovery was, it was all about the LGBTQ plus community and putting those folks to the front of the franchise. And for better or worse, like that franchise did well because of that. It opened up whole new demographics of folks that were interested in it. So, but that all that said, Nick, I know you're sad about it closing. I'm fine with this. This is fine. But Nick, tell me why you're sad about
I guess
Discovery going
I
on.
am fine that you would, we don't need to spend 9 seasons. How many is next gen? 9 seasons, I think. We don't need to spend 9
Seven?
seasons
I think it's
or 7 seasons with every, group. But it just worries me. The article mentions that it's kind of, it's and Kyle will love this. It's Paramount Plus coming to the realization that you have to budget, you have to like people
Balance
who
the
watch
budget.
it versus how much shows you're paying for. So
So-
I would hope that this is why it worries me. just like Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, it's the flagship Star Trek show right now. And by getting rid of it, I hope we're not going to see the cancellation of more Trek shows. Obviously, Picard's coming to its natural end. I'd like a spinoff about Riker, or not a spinoff, but a sequel show with Riker or something.
No.
Riker's way better than Picard. He's been the best part of season 3.
But I mean, move on. Like, don't make another show about a fucking octogenarian. Like, make a new show. I agree with you and I disagree with you. Here's where I disagree. And Kyle made me think of Babylon 5 today. It is entirely possible to tell a tight and fantastic story in 5 seasons, right?
Yeah.
That is Babylon 5. And so I'm okay with when we start these shows, like, we know that's all we're going to get. I feel better knowing that there's a beginning, middle, and end to these shows rather than the idea like, are we going to get a season 4? I don't know. It depends on, like, I don't like that.
And it sounds like there's lots of reshoots going on to make this feel like the final season. The article kind of mentioned the reshoots are started after the announcement, or, when they decided, and it wasn't decided when they released the trailer or did the original shoot. But yeah, I just hope it isn't a cascading event or like a sign that people don't like Trek and we're just going to make less Trek shows. Because this is for me, this is the golden age of Trek. I know that I'm catching up on the other golden age when they were like unlimited. There's always at least one series going, if not 2 at the same time, with Deep Space Nine. But yeah,
the best part about that is you have literally hundreds of episodes to watch.
It's true. I'm towards the end of season 3 of Next Gen, so I've been loving it.
3 more series to go after that before you even jump to now. So you've got your Deep Space Nine, you've got Voyager, and you've got Enterprise.
Excited for Deep Space Nine. Don't know anything about Voyager. Dreading Enterprise, but yeah,
I don't think it's happening.
I'll watch it all.
I did not finish Enterprise, just so you know.
There you go.
So, Danny K. Bartlett, you have joined the show. Would you like to give your thoughts on Creed before we shuffle off this mortal coil of podcasting? Not life.
Well, hold on. How late am I? 7:15.
An hour.
I've got. Have you changed times again?
No.
Yeah, we just did it an hour earlier this week.
Well, which one of you muddy funsters was going to tell me?
It was all in the chat.
Fuck.
Sorry, Danny.
Sorry, Danny. Should have added.
What's your letter grade on Creed?
C plus.
C plus.
What's your Twitter review?
Yeah. My Twitter review. Nice to see some originality to a very unoriginal story. There was a few things that made it seem new and fresh to me, and I don't mind that when we're rehashing things. But there was also a lot of it that seemed rushed to me. How the fights got organized, how the rivalry was played out. There was a few. I've got a few faults with it, but it was nice to see some originality from a very well-trod story. It wasn't fantastic to me. We've seen that story before, is my point. It was nice to see some original things, like the jumping of the fight scene where everything disappeared and it was just those two. That was a really nice take on, just rather than just going through the rounds and seeing people punch stuff. All that was fantastic. But again, it was just like Rocky 3, but without certain things. It was the same story, but without certain things. So rehashed, fine. Nice to see something original, but just a C plus for me.
I do have a question for Danny now about Creed. So next week, I'm also going to ask Kyle about the SEO later for it, but 65 worth seeing?
No, shit.
So we should maybe do Scream 6 next week.
I tell you what, here's my Twitter review, and this really will be a Twitter. Can anyone tell me what the name of that Will Smith film was that had his son in it?
God, After Earth.
Okay,
Will Smith.
It's better than After Earth.
Oh, that's no. It. Sounds like a moonfall.
I mean,
no, it's not that bad. I stayed. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Oh, God, no.
Maybe we will do Scream 6 then.
It's better than the Will Smith one. I see. You've just told me the title, and I've already forgotten it again. Whatever.
After Earth.
Thank you. It's
M. Night Shyamalan.
better than that. It's better than that.
All right.
No, don't bother, guys. Save your money.
What's your letter grade for 65?
D minus.
Ooh, god damn.
Yeah.
Call that dog shit.
Damn it.
All right.
I'm like,
Well,
finally
I'm
a
glad-
franchise that's
I'm
not
glad we
Jurassic
dodged it.
Park.
I'm not gonna lie, when you're all saying like 65, I'm just like, I don't know. I got the same feelings I got when everyone's like, let's watch Cocaine Bear. And I'm like, I don't want to watch Cocaine Bear. I think I know what I'm getting with that. I felt the same way with 65, so I'm happy we're dodging that.
Jammer's all in on a franchise he's only seen one movie of then.
Scream? I've seen 3 of those.
Oh, nice.
No, yeah, 3. I saw the first
Seen
3.
I've seen all of them.
I have not seen all of them. I
know you've
missed
seen
4
all
and
of them.
5 in the series. Scream the series.
I did
Oh,
not.
that doesn't
Okay, no,
count.
that doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, no. Okay.
Five's important though. Apparently 4 is too. I need to watch 4 because the character's coming back from that.
I have no idea what any of them. I don't remember. So I know I've seen them all. I don't remember what number is what.
I don't think it matters. They're all the same.
The last one was just
They
Scream. That was intentional.
I did not like the last one.
I did.
I thought the 6th one had a good trailer.
Yeah.
I like the trailer for that one.
And on that
All right.
note,
Space takes New York.
you guys ready to shut it down? Shut it down.
Yeah.
Damn.
All
for joining,
right,
Danny.
dear
Damn it.
listener.
No,
If you-
another
if you-
hour. I demand another hour.
That's what the audience says.
No.
Carl is like, no.
So, dear listener, if you like what you heard, do all the socials, like, rate, comment, subscribe, share. We would certainly appreciate it. Also, LRM Online and the Genreverse have other great reading and listening and watching material for you on their respective websites.
Website draggy.
Websites, yeah.
Speaking
Listen,
of Scream
guy.
and
Listen,
Matthew
guys,
Lillard,
it's 12:30 here. It's 12:30. It's fucking late. Yeah. So, gents, they know where they can find you.
Yeah.
So,
It's all below if you're
we'll
watching
catch
us
you on the
YouTube.
next one. Yeah. We'll catch you on the next one. Hasta lasagna.
Don't get any on ya.
mission delayed.